Imagine waking up on January 1st, 1900. You believe the future will be brighter than ever. Science is transforming daily life. Empires span continents. New inventions promise endless progress. No one knows that within a single generation, millions will die. Empires will collapse, and the map of the world will be redrawn forever. Much of the world was controlled by a handful of powerful empires. The British Empire was the largest in history, ruling territories on every inhabited continent. Britain controlled India, large parts of Africa, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and many strategic ports around the world. Its powerful Royal Navy protected global trade and ensured British dominance at sea. France possessed a vast colonial empire stretching across North and West Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific. Germany, unified only in 1871, had rapidly become one of Europe's strongest industrial and military powers. Although it had acquired colonies in Africa and the Pacific, many German leaders believed their empire was too small compared with Britain's and France's. The Russian Empire stretched across Eastern Europe and Northern Asia, containing hundreds of ethnic groups under the rule of Tsar Nicholas II. Austria-Hungary governed a multinational empire in Central Europe. Germans, Hungarians, Czechs, Slovaks, Croats, Serbs, Romanians, and many other peoples lived under one emperor. Nationalist movements increasingly challenged this fragile political system. The Ottoman Empire, which had once dominated the Middle East and Southeastern Europe, continued to lose territory and influence. Many European leaders referred to it as the sick man of Europe. Outside Europe, Japan emerged as a major power after modernizing rapidly during the Meiji era. Its victory over Russia in the Russo-Japanese War of 1904 to 1905 shocked the world. For the first time in modern history, an Asian nation had defeated a major European empire in a large-scale war, demonstrating that the global balance of power was beginning to change. Imperial rivalry. European nations competed fiercely for colonies, resources, and influence. Colonies provided raw materials such as rubber, cotton, gold, oil, and minerals. They also served as markets for manufactured goods and symbols of national prestige. By the early 20th century, much of Africa had been divided among European powers during the scramble for Africa. Colonial expansion often involved violence, exploitation, and resistance from local populations. Germany increasingly resented Britain's enormous empire and sought a greater role in world affairs. This competition intensified diplomatic tensions between the major powers. Nationalism. Nationalism became one of the strongest political forces of the era. In countries like Germany, Britain, and France, nationalism encouraged patriotism and pride, but also fostered suspicion of rival nations. Within multinational empires such as Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, many ethnic groups demanded greater autonomy or complete independence. The Balkans became a center of nationalist movements. Serbia, in particular, hoped to unite South Slavic peoples living under Austro-Hungarian rule. This ambition alarmed Austria-Hungary, which feared losing control over its southern territories. Nationalism inspired millions, but also deepened political divisions that diplomacy struggled to contain. Militarism. European governments increasingly believed that military strength guaranteed national security. Between 1900 and 1914, military spending rose sharply across Europe. Armies expanded, new weapons were developed, and detailed war plans were prepared. Germany built one of the world's most powerful armies. Britain responded to Germany's growing naval power by constructing larger and more advanced battleships, including the revolutionary HMS Dreadnought in 1906. Germany quickly began building similar vessels, creating a naval arms race. Military leaders gained significant influence over government policy. Many believed that if war became inevitable, striking first would offer the greatest advantage. As a result, political crises became increasingly dangerous because mobilizing an army often meant that war could no longer be avoided. The alliance system. To protect themselves, European powers formed military alliances. Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy established the Triple Alliance. Britain, France, and Russia gradually formed the Triple Entente. These alliances were intended to deter war by discouraging aggression. Instead, they created a system in which a conflict involving one nation could quickly draw in many others. A regional dispute now carried the risk of becoming a continental war. Crises before 1914. Several international crises demonstrated how unstable Europe had become. The Moroccan crises of 1905 and 1911 brought Germany into confrontation with France and Britain over influence in North Africa. The Bosnian crisis of 1908 erupted when Austria-Hungary annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina. Serbia strongly opposed the annexation because many ethnic Serbs lived there. Russia supported Serbia, increasing tensions with Austria-Hungary and Germany. The Balkan Wars of 1912 and 1913 further weakened the Ottoman Empire and increased competition among the Balkan states. Serbia emerged stronger, while Austria-Hungary became increasingly concerned about Serbian influence. Each crisis ended without a general war, but each left greater mistrust between the major powers. The spark, Sarajevo. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, visited Sarajevo in Bosnia. During the visit, he and his wife Sophie were assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist associated with a network seeking to end Austro-Hungarian rule over South Slavs. The assassination shocked Europe, but by itself, it did not make a world war inevitable. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia and, with Germany's support, issued a strict ultimatum. Serbia accepted many of the demands but rejected others. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia mobilized to support Serbia. Germany declared war on Russia. Germany then declared war on France and invaded neutral Belgium as part of its military strategy. Britain entered the war after Germany violated Belgian neutrality. Within weeks, nearly every major European power had become involved. What began as a regional crisis had become the First World War. Conclusion: the First World War was not caused by one man pulling a trigger in Sarajevo. The assassination was the spark, but the fire had been building for years. Industrialization had transformed economies and militaries. Imperial competition fueled international rivalries. Nationalism divided empires and united populations behind increasingly aggressive policies. Militarism encouraged governments to prepare for war rather than compromise. The alliance system ensured that a conflict between two countries could rapidly engulf an entire continent. By 1914, Europe had become a machine under immense pressure. Sarajevo merely pulled the final lever. The world that had entered the 20th century with confidence and optimism would soon be consumed by 4 years of industrialized warfare, changing the course of history forever.
The summer that shattered Europe. On June 28, 1914, the streets of Sarajevo were filled with excitement. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was visiting Bosnia, a province Austria had annexed only 6 years earlier. To many Austrians, it was a display of imperial strength. To many Serbs, it was an occupation. A young Bosnian Serb nationalist named Gavrilo Princip, a member of the secret revolutionary movement known as Young Bosnia, believed the only way to free Slavic people from Austrian rule was through violence. Earlier that morning, one assassin had already failed. A bomb thrown at the Archduke's convoy bounced off his car and exploded beneath another vehicle, injuring several officers. Most would have called off the visit. Instead, Franz Ferdinand insisted on continuing. Fate intervened. While traveling through Sarajevo, his driver made a wrong turn. As the car stopped to reverse, it came to a halt directly in front of Gavrilo Princip, who happened to be standing outside a cafe after believing the mission had failed. He fired 2 shots. One struck the Archduke, the other struck his wife, Sophie. Within minutes, both were dead. No one in Sarajevo realized it then, but 2 bullets had just triggered the collapse of an entire world order. The July crisis, Austria-Hungary blamed neighboring Serbia for encouraging the assassination. Germany immediately pledged unconditional support to Austria. This became known as the blank check. Russia promised to protect Serbia. France supported Russia. Britain hoped diplomacy could still prevent war. For nearly 5 weeks, Europe balanced on the edge of disaster. Then diplomacy collapsed. On July 28, 1914, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Like dominoes falling one after another, Russia mobilized. Germany declared war on Russia. Germany declared war on France. Germany invaded neutral Belgium. Britain declared war on Germany. Within days, nearly every major European power had entered the conflict. What began as a regional dispute became the largest war humanity had ever witnessed. A war everyone expected to end by Christmas. Across Europe, millions celebrated. Young men rushed to recruiting stations, bands played patriotic music, women handed flowers to departing soldiers. Governments promised victory within months. Many believed they would return home before Christmas. Instead, they would spend the next 4 years living in mud, blood, and fear. The Schlieffen Plan, Germany's military believed fighting France and Russia simultaneously would be impossible. Their solution was the Schlieffen Plan. First, destroy France within 6 weeks. Then, move hundreds of thousands of troops east by railway before slow-moving Russia could fully mobilize. The plan depended on speed. Germany swept through Belgium with overwhelming force. Entire towns were destroyed. Reports of civilian executions shocked the world. Britain entered the war largely because Germany had violated Belgian neutrality. As German troops approached Paris, victory seemed inevitable. Then, everything changed. The miracle of the Marne, September 1914. French and British forces launched a desperate counterattack along the River Marne. Even Paris taxis were used to transport soldiers to the battlefield. The German advance stalled. Instead of capturing Paris, Germany dug defensive trenches. The Allies dug trenches opposite them. Neither side could advance. From the North Sea to Switzerland stretched nearly 700 kilometers of trenches. The age of movement had ended. The age of trench warfare had begun. Life inside the trenches. The trenches became another world. Soldiers lived surrounded by rats the size of cats. Mud-swallowed boots, rain-flooded shelters. Bodies often remained buried only a few feet away. Lice covered uniforms. Diseases spread rapidly. Many soldiers suffered what doctors later called shell shock, now recognized as post-traumatic stress disorder. At night, patrols entered no man's land, a landscape of shattered trees, barbed wire, shell craters, and death. Crossing it often meant almost certain death. The industrialization of killing previous wars had relied largely on courage. This war depended on machines. Machine guns could fire hundreds of rounds every minute. Heavy artillery destroyed entire villages without soldiers ever seeing their enemy. Poison gas drifted silently across battlefields. Flamethrowers terrified defenders. Aircraft, once a curiosity, became weapons. Pilots fought dogfights high above the trenches. Tanks appeared for the first time in 1916, crushing barbed wire and crossing trenches that infantry could not. Factories had become as important as armies. Industrialization, once celebrated for improving lives, had become humanity's greatest killing machine. The bloodbath of Verdun, Germany attacked the French fortress city of Verdun. The German objective wasn't simply to capture the city, it was to bleed France until it collapsed. General Erich von Falkenhayn believed France would sacrifice everything to defend Verdun. He was right. For 10 months. The battle never stopped. Millions of shells exploded. Entire forests disappeared. Villages vanished forever. More than 700,000 casualties were suffered by both sides combined. Neither side truly won. The Somme. While Verdun raged, Britain launched another offensive along the River Somme. On July 1st, 1916, whistles blew. Nearly 100,000 British soldiers climbed out of their trenches. They marched toward German positions. German machine guns opened fire. By sunset, almost 60,000 British casualties had occurred in a single day, the bloodiest day in British military history. The battle continued for months. The front barely moved. War at sea. The conflict extended far beyond Europe's trenches. Britain's powerful navy blockaded Germany, cutting off food and supplies. Germany responded with unrestricted submarine warfare. Its U-boats attacked merchant ships without warning. In 1915, the British passenger liner RMS Lusitania was sunk. Nearly 1,200 people died, including Americans. Although the United States did not immediately enter the war, public opinion began shifting against Germany. A world at war. This was no longer just a European conflict. Millions of colonial troops fought for European empires. Indian soldiers fought in France. African troops served across multiple fronts. Australian and New Zealand forces landed at Gallipoli. Canadians fought at Vimy Ridge. Japanese forces seized German possessions in Asia. The Ottoman Empire joined Germany. Fighting spread across Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Asia, and the oceans. It had become humanity's first truly global war, the Russian Revolution. By 1917, Russia was collapsing, millions had died, food shortages became severe, factories shut down, soldiers deserted. The people blamed Tsar Nicholas II. Mass protests erupted. The centuries-old Romanov dynasty collapsed. Later that year, the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power, promising peace, land, and bread. Russia withdrew from the war in 1918, allowing Germany to move troops to the Western Front. But it also ignited a revolution whose effects would shape the rest of the century. America enters the war when many believed unrestricted submarine warfare would force Britain to surrender before the United States could intervene. It miscalculated. The interception of the Zimmermann telegram, in which Germany proposed an alliance with Mexico against the United States, outraged Americans. Combined with the continued submarine attacks on US ships, it pushed President Woodrow Wilson to ask Congress for a declaration of war. On April 6, 1917, the United States entered the conflict. Fresh American troops, vast industrial production, and enormous financial resources gradually shifted the balance. Germany's last gamble. In spring 1918, Germany launched one final massive offensive before American forces arrived in overwhelming numbers. Initially, German troops advanced farther than they had in years, but they were exhausted. Supplies ran short. The Allies, now reinforced by American soldiers, counterattacked during the 100 Days Offensive. Germany began retreating. Its allies collapsed one after another. Inside Germany, sailors mutinied. Workers revolted. The Kaiser abdicated. The empire fell. The 11th hour on November 11th, 1918, at exactly 11 a.m., the guns finally fell silent. After 4 years of industrial slaughter, more than 16 million people were dead. Around 20 million were wounded. 4 great empires, the German, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian empires, had collapsed. Europe was economically devastated. An entire generation had been scarred physically and psychologically. People celebrated the end of the fighting. They believed they had witnessed the war to end all wars. They were wrong. The peace that followed would prove almost as consequential as the war itself, planting the seeds of an even deadlier conflict.